Starting off with the drink. There's water, celery sticks, three of, and little unsweetened orange juice. If you're a diabetic, you'll find orange juice will actually bring up your sugar levels, even the unsweetened orange juice. So if you end up finding yourself very low on sugar level, then drink a little orange juice. That'll probably be one of the faster ways to bring up your sugar. There's medication where you can take something to bring up your sugar as well. All right. Well, nothing's not working. And I actually have water as well. So once again, we'll start with just walking in one spot. Today I might do a few more minutes, but I'll do it at a slow pace. This is week 2 now, and put a little bit more in there, but I don't think I'll do enough for breaking a sweat. Still taking it easy, just doing a little more. With making it that simple, it really doesn't feel like you're doing any exercise. Just a little movement, and you can do just a few extra things throughout the day if you'd like. Like I was talking about in the past, you can do a couple squats or something like that, especially if you have a sitting job and that you're at the desk or driving or whatever it may be. Okay, and I have a tension band, 50 pounds. It's a bit too much, but we'll make it work. Make sure you have it fastened properly at the other end. And then with that, I also have a chair in the middle, so that if anything happens that comes flying, that there's something to cushion it or slow it down, that I don't get hit in the face. Usually, the tension band, you're pulling, and so therefore, if it slips off, something breaks or whatever it may be, then it always comes at you because you're always pulling. So I'm going to be working on my, not much for triceps, but maybe a little forearm triceps, mostly shoulders. And the other side. All right. Okay. You also find there's mainly your shoulder. I'll do a little bit your traps as well. So let's bring it back to legs and do some squats. Have some more water again. Well, not for this to be an excuse. Unfortunately, I'm about 270 pounds to 300 pounds in that area. So when you move around, it seems to be some work. So what we'll do now is some core work. We'll do a little rear lats as well, because as I did in the other video, I'm using my elbow as well. When you push back, let's say for example when you're in the gym, you do the seated rows, cable rows, then you're working your back. And this is a similar motion when you're laying on your back, and you're pushing as you're doing your crunch. So it's not a huge workout, but like I said, we're moving around, right? Doing some activities. So go for that. So this little thing is to work your forearms. And what I have here, I can adjust the tension. And if you don't have something like this, you can get a broomstick, get a string, and tape it on or tie it on, so that when you turn the broomstick, that it's winding up the string. And that's good for your forearms too. So I don't have one available right now. But let's say this is a broomstick for now, and you put a rope on here. And let's say this is a rope. So when you have a rope on it and you turn it, when you do it this way that you're turning it up, you're actually working the top of your forearms. And if you end up turning it the other way, so if you do it this way, that the rope is towards you, then you'll be working the bottom of your forearm. And if the rope is on the other side, away from you, and you're curling it up, and you're working the top. It's good to have those little exercises instead of just sitting down and resting and things like that. It doesn't take much energy, and if you work out the forearms and somewhat of your arms, when you lift something, you always have to grab it, and you need to be strong enough to hold it with your hands to lift it. So that's why working the small muscles is a good idea as well. You can do it at a time when you want to take a break, then you just do the small muscles. That way you don't have to take a break. Like I was saying today though, we are taking it easy and just delay things a little bit, stuff like that, just to keep us going. And as I was saying earlier, with the people who are more fit, they can change it to a more difficult workout, and they can do more reps. Keep going when we end up stopping and taking a small break, drinking some water or things like that. Then they can keep going. They want to keep exercising. And when we do squats, if you want to make it more difficult, put a jump with it. So you go all the way down, and when you come up, you jump as high as you can, and that will make it a little more difficult. You can also add weight and stuff, but that's not what we're doing. We're not trying to get big and strong. We're just trying to become healthy, right? And if we end up looking good and getting in good shape, that's the side effect. Naturally, it just happens. So what we're working on is becoming healthy, eat healthy, move around, and I think the week after this, the third week, then I'll probably make it more as an exercise. Right now it's about activity. Also, I might find activities I can do that is like an exercise. For example, paintballing, or where you're running and jumping and rolling and just moving around a lot. There is I could just throw an activity in instead of doing exercise, and that has to be not the things that I normally do or would do once a week anyway or every day. Those activities do not count. It's ones we put extra in our day. Those are the ones that count. I'm thinking tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow, I'm thinking about going for a bike ride with my daughter. And That doesn't hit everything for muscles, but we'll see how much she wants to go. If it's a short distance, then it seems like she's getting pretty good health and she can keep going for quite some time. So it still gives me pretty good workout. And then in a bicycle, if you pedal slow, it's more difficult than fast. Well, it depends on how fast you go, but she's still on training wheels, so she doesn't go extremely fast. And she sometimes wants to or tries and gets carried away and stuff like that. So I just try to convince her to go a happier medium for herself, not to the extreme where she can fall down. First learn to bike a little bit. As you know, kids don't have patience, they just want to go for it. And a lot of times that actually helps to learn faster. Alright, let's go to push-ups, I guess. I gotta grab my stuff. Alright. This is just comfort. Sounds silly to do an exercise and have comfort at the same time, but it does seem like that. So this time I won't do it upside down. Alright. Well, still holding out. Things are complaining already. And we'll probably end up getting a medicine ball and some other ones too. Just get a few more workouts in. What we can do now is add some stretching in. It's nice to do it when you got your blood flowing a bit for doing stretches, because when you stretch your muscle, it actually slows down your, or kind of like squishing the blood out of your muscle. Not exactly, but you don't have a good blood flow while you're stretching. So if you have good blood flow before, that will help for your muscles, and you can avoid more injuries that way. So to start with, straight legs and reach for your toes. And if I had a decent door or something to pull on, because you can, when you pull, you can actually stretch your back muscle. So usually a door or something like that. This you'll find mostly your chest, but your bicep forearm, depends on how you have your hand, can stretch as well. I'm gonna go for, I don't know, around 20 seconds, half a minute for a stretch. And you can count it out or whatever you would like. And you don't want to stretch too hard where you end up getting pain or injury. There'll be a small discomfort, which is fine. It depends on if it's your first time stretching, then you want to take it easy. If you've done it for a year, it's a whole different story. This does the shoulders while we were exercising with the tension band. Stretch shot. Just by pulling your elbow, crossing your arm. And for your triceps, do over your head, behind your head, and then with the other arm, you pull your elbow further to the center of your head. Now we'll stretch your triceps. If I had a bigger shirt on, I might do that, but I don't want my shirt up here. So let's go back to stretching your legs. There's also a way to stretch your calf muscles below your knee and heel in the back. And you can put your toes up against the wall. First, lean back a distance. If you want, you can even squat down a bit just to put your foot at a 45 or greater degrees. And then stand up and lean towards the wall. However much flexibility you have, I don't know. The more flexibility you have, the more extreme you want to go. If it's, or you could even do it by like the steps at the bottom of the steps. You can do the same thing, kind of like the wall, and you can hold on the railing. Otherwise, you could just lean on the wall, or if you want to work on your balance, you could try without holding anything. And since you're in the house, you can always use a chair for many things. A lot of times for balance and things like that. If I want to maybe go for the third week, then I want to jump onto, like I have a small deck in the back here, and have a landing at the bigger house. And I was thinking I'd be jumping onto a higher surface. So just to, as a little exercise. And maybe week 4, I don't know if I might do it maybe before that, but week 4 I'm thinking of skipping rope. Put that in there. Do that for a while, and I'm hoping this week, maybe towards the end of this week or the beginning of next week, I'll do chin-ups, and I'll show you how a fat person can do chin-ups. Maybe I should say a heavy person, how they can do a chin-up. And just so that you can see, it doesn't matter if you're not in a perfect shape, there's still a way to be able to do that workout. So Now we can do the legs individually, our hamstring, and here we can do our calf too by bringing our toes back towards us, and you want to have your shoulders squared off with your foot, and then with both hands to create a triangle. The foot is the center, obviously, and then stretch that way. So if you can't reach your foot, you can always go for your leg, your knee, or whatever. Depends on how well you can reach it. And I find this way is easy. If you do it this way, it's not the same. It's not a proper stretch. So you keep your foot up, and if you bring it in, it will stretch even more. So reach it with the opposite hand first. And remember to relax. If you don't relax, you can't stretch as much because you're tensing the muscle it's supposed to be stretching. And it seems more difficult and a lot of times more painful if you're resisting with flexing a muscle instead of relaxing the one that's supposed to be stretching. So you want to relax it so you can stretch it better. And as I explained in a couple of videos before, the reason for stretching is for flexibility. Flexibility will give you mobility. So it's good to be flexible to be able to move around properly and freely without resistance or any difficulty doing so. A lot of times you'll hear someone stand up or do something, and it's not really a difficult task to do, and you'll hear there's some grunt or groan or whatever, and if you have a good flexibility that you're really mobile, there'll be a smaller chance of that happening. If you have a big stomach and you're squishing it, sometimes you'll find yourself like letting air out to be able to do that, because it becomes difficult. But even if you're a big guy, you can still have quite the flexibility. It depends on how big your muscles are. You know, if you're very big compared to someone really slim, you might be able to move their arms in a more flexible way than you can. But regardless, what you're doing is stretching to make yourself as flexible as you can be in the shape you are, and also mobile as much as possible. If it's say like just a big stomach or something what's not all muscle, a lot of times you'll find that's not as difficult as if it's all muscle, because the soft stuff will squish and move. Muscle doesn't as easily. So, and I forgot to relax my hamstring for a lot of this stretch, and realized that a little on the late side. To get a proper stretch, you want to relax to whatever extent you can. And let's say this is too difficult and you don't have enough flexibility and you can't, and you're working with balance more so than doing your stretch, and then you find yourself trying to hold yourself that you don't fall back. Then you can use a chair like I showed you the other day. Yeah, I've heard of a few people getting hit in their face with their own tension band and different things like that. So therefore, I'm more cautious. I'm not a guy what uses tension bands that much. I used to always just go to the gym and it would usually be free weights or cable machines. And that cable does something similar to tension bands. Depends on the design. So weights all depends on the angle and things like that. where the most difficult area is going to be for lifting. And for example, let's say if you do the arm curl, at the top will be the most weight, half point. Well, it depends on if you bring out your elbow, then top will have nothing. But if you keep your elbow down, then the top will have pretty good weight. Midpoint and the bottom will have very little. Tension band, if you have it in the right location, that it's not behind you, because then it will do nothing. It has to be towards to the bottom, a little away from you. Not too much away from you, because then the bottom has nothing either. So mostly straight down from your hand, and then you can have tension all the way through, and the most tension would be the furthest stretched out. In cable, while there it can be the same weight throughout the whole motion, unless if you have the cable at an angle that is with your arm, that is, let's say for example the cable is going behind you, then it will do nothing. But if it's going down or something like that, we can. Same with if you do a bench, like a bench press or a lat pull down, anything like that. My phone is giving me a bunch of notifications. So if you hear a noise, that's what that is. When you do this, you can drop your hip down, right? You don't have to stand like that. Like I said, square it off, so you want your hips pointing the same direction as your foot is. This hip drop down to try to square it, that it's not at an angle. And your knees straight, you get a nice stretch on there. And like the other day when I was showing you, you can do lower, like that's why we're using this, is because of flexibility. So whatever your flexibility is, and let's say this is not enough, but that becomes too much or something like that, and then you can just reach towards the foot, and if it still doesn't have the stretch properly, when you have your knees straight, your hips squared off, your hip down, and then you're stretching forward, it doesn't, then don't bend your back and have a straight back and then go forward, and it will give you a stretch very quickly. This is my daughter's chair, but at least it wouldn't be as narrow here to do that. Well, I'll use it for balance, because say we can use chairs for balance, and then we'll just pull on our foot. And if you don't have the flexibility to do that yet, you can put your foot on the chair and then get closer to the chair, stand more straight, and things like that. You can, let's say it's on a chair and it's not stretching enough, you can bring your hips forward with your foot and knee going further back. And that will stretch your thighs and possibly a little bit towards your ab area there, or to the top of your leg. Give it a few minutes. Actually, no. Well, yeah, don't do minutes. Rather rotate. So let's say you do 30 seconds, and you want to do more stretching. You can always come back to that. Let's say I do this side, and then I do it for 30 seconds, for example. I go back to this one, what I had done for 30 seconds. I can do another 30 seconds. Just keep switching back and forth. That way you have, like right now when I'm standing on it, there's better blood flow in that muscle. And then when I go back to it, then it's refreshed again. I don't know if that's the way to say it, but it has more blood flow in it. When you're stretching it, it's kind of squishing or reducing the blood flow anyways. And it's also pushing some blood flow or some blood out of your muscle. It's not like a sponge where you, but I don't know how to explain it. I'm not a doctor. I just know the blood flow isn't as good in your muscle if you're stretching it. And I know it's important to stretch your muscle for flexibility, and that leads to good mobility. Be able to move around properly. And let's say, for example, you're relaxing for a while and you want to jump up. If you have the flexibility and all that and the health, you can do so. You don't have to first do a warm up or whatever it may be. Now, if you're 100 or 110 years old, I can't speak for that because I don't know really anything about that age. So I guess age, to some extent, depends on how far you are, can play a role in things. And some people are really healthy that you'd be surprised 80-year-olds can do better than 20-year-olds. And it depends on what shape they are in. There was one man who was about 80 years old and he was walking miles every day, walking miles. He seemed to be a fairly healthy, he was a tall, big guy, not in the stomach, just shoulders and stuff. He was fairly good health. For an 80-year-old man, you would never expect somebody to be that healthy. And he didn't exercise, he was just doing physical work. And that's what did that for him. So let's throw in a few more squats. Just that we keep doing something, right? And with doing that, now we're bringing more blood into those muscles, what we were stretching earlier. So I'm trying to do the max with my heels, but I find I'm losing my balance. Just a little bit. And we can do our walking really slow, but this time with our legs straight. Don't just wing it into air, because we're actually working a muscle on our thigh here, and a little bit of our ab, the lower ab. When we do that, raise quite far and kind of pause at the top if you can, or the best you can. Now we're not doing, where we'll open up our hips, because it's not a kick what we're doing. This is just that it gives us some work and a little stretch. Alright, and before, when I did the push-up and the tension band, instead of jumping in it that quickly, we would have been able to move our arms around a bit. But we'll do it just to keep us going for a bit without it being difficult. The whole goal is not to avoid difficulty. The goal is to do it again tomorrow and the day after. And every day for 3 months. And that's not where we stop, but that's where it has become a habit. And then with the habit, then it just becomes part of our life, and that's what we do. And then if it's difficult, it doesn't matter, because it's what we do. It's our life. Anything difficult makes you stronger. So we can't really run from difficulty. We gotta go for it. If nothing else, when things become too easy, find something to make it a little more difficult. And I've seen someone do it in gaming. He was playing a game and he decided, I won't use half of the resources. I'll become resourceful and I'll play the game with only half of the things. And he actually won the game by doing that. So I don't know, people can do that in real life, where let's say you're doing your job, it becomes easy, and instead of it just staying the same, you can step it up. You can find ways to, you don't want to just work hard when it's exercising you do, because then you're working after your health. When you're doing a job, you want to make it efficient, and yeah, that's great, it's easy, but then you want to add more value by getting more done, still in a safe way and things like that. And then you'll find you'll be moving up in the company. They'll get you to a higher position because you become more valuable. You could find yourself getting paid more per hour, or your wage increasing by adding more value to the company. And if you keep going at it, you could find yourself becoming part of the company. Like let's say you get part ownership, maybe some commissions on the side because you're doing the extra work and they're finding you to be very valuable. Or you could even get some stocks, shares, because of the work you're doing. Or they might even say, okay, there's some companies what will, as you're working, a certain percentage of your paycheck or pay will go to shares of the company. And that's how you should be thinking, is always, what can I do next? What's the next level? How can I make more? How can I make it to benefit the company more? And when you do that, instead of thinking of how can I get a raise, think of how can I help the company grow? How can I make them benefit more? Things like that. And it will get noticed. And especially if you're at the bottom of the ladder and the guys you're working with might not have those goals, and sharing with them because they are not willing to do anything about your extra uh, goals for to achieve more. They might just want to do their job perfectly and that's it. And you want to do your job perfectly plus you want to do more. And when you do that, sometimes you have to reach out to other people in the company, or if you're able to bring in more customers or things like that. That there's always ways to reach out. You can reach out to the marketplace within the company, to the owner, to the CEO or whatever it may be. There's always areas you can reach out, and then when you present or offer, usually you want to just be able to do it. But if it is a situation where you need their approval, um, then you want to know a way to tell them uh, or to how to offer to them, right? And you don't want to go to them, oh, can I have more money if I do something for you? That's the wrong way to go about it. You want to offer by adding value and telling them this is how we've been doing it, and if we do this as well, or if we do it in this kind of way, you don't do the completely opposite, but you make a small adjustment and it will be more efficient and more can be done. Or if you find a market and say, here's a market where many customers can be, and I know we're selling in this area, but here's a huge market what we haven't gone for yet, and that's the market exactly what we're in. So there's many different ways, depends on what you come up with and stuff, but just become resourceful, and when you do that, that's when you start moving up. I think that's all for what we'll do for today as an exercise. I'm going to keep advancing and advancing and improving the exercises. I think I did share a little bit the other day with the foods, something that's good for your heart and has fiber and things. And I will share with you some more foods and maybe even some recipes or meal plans. And then I'll put together a proper exercising or activity routine where we can work harder and stress ourselves more in our bodies to become healthier and stronger. So see you tomorrow.